All right, so today it is a Billy Joel song war. His mammoth 1985 greatest hits set contained two new songs that also both became hits. So what were they, and which one will we crown our favorite? Hey, welcome to Acting is Reacting. I'm Joe, or JSB, and I am chuffed to once again be joined by Sean from Reactions to the Classics. How are you, my friend? I feel like I should know the answer to that already for some strange reason.
I'm doing well, still doing well. Yeah, we might have recorded something just right before this, or might not. You're gonna have to stay tuned on this fantastic channel to figure that out. But I'm doing quite well.
Well, I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad that our previous recording didn't change that.
No, not at all.
Okay, so it has been 40 years, stunningly, since the release of Billy Joel's Greatest Hits Volume 1 and 2, and I'll get to the personal significance of this particular release a little bit later. It's actually just been re-released on vinyl for those who are interested in such things, and I'm sort of tempted to pick a copy up for myself. But today we are focusing on what were then the two new songs that closed the album, You're Only Human, Second Wind, and The Night Is Still Young. So we're going to put those songs against each other in a song war. Basically, we'll listen to both and pick our favorite, and we'll ask you to do the same. So get those comment typing fingers ready. Sure, I believe you owned this album, but uh, you don't always, or at least when you were young, you didn't do what I've always done, which is listen to things from start to finish, no matter what.
I very rarely ever did that. But on this, I did. I loved this cassette at the time. Loved it. I don't remember these two songs all that much. Absolutely love this album. I knew Billy. Billy's one of the first artists I knew when I started really getting into music, even listening to the radio in probably 78-ish. Knew Billy really
Oh,
well
yeah.
because me and
He
a
would have been
good
all over the radio
all over, man,
all
and
of
just
those
something
years.
about him. He was early in on the video, so really knew Billy. But listening to this as a 14-year-old, when I was more mature, as mature as you can get, I was pretty mature as a 14-year-old, honestly, but loved it.
I
Just
believe you.
loved this. So, yeah, it's great.
So, the famous slash notorious critic Robert Christgau lamented that the worst thing about the Greatest Hits album was it being baited with what he called two new misses. But they did, of course, both become top 40 hits in their own right, though perhaps they haven't, and I'd say unfairly, in my view, they haven't lasted in the public consciousness as long as many of their companions on this album.
Well, yeah, like I told you, I don't really remember these songs, but Robert would have been a fun hang back in the day, I'm sure, man. He didn't love a lot of stuff. So yeah, I kind of
Yeah.
always see his
I
stuff and
mean,
like,
he gave this an A minus, which was very high
oh
praise
wow.
for him when it came to Billy. He even
Yeah.
basically said at the start of the review, "I give up. It's fine. Great, go on for it. Go for it."
Mr.
Ah, dear.
Positivity.
Yeah, exactly. So we will start with "You're Only Human," Second Wind, which is the second title in parentheses. So we will listen to the song and then we'll talk about it because that's the order we do things in around these parts. So let's give You're Only Human, Second Wind a fresh listen. It sounds like this. Alrighty. Just before we start talking about that, if you wonder where the music just went there, I don't ever know what's going to happen with Billy songs. Sometimes they get blocked, sometimes they don't. So just to be safe, there will be a version with the music edited out, and that's probably the one you're watching. And there'll also be a link to the one that has the full music in it. Touch wood, fingers crossed, and all of that. So if you're not on that video and you want to be, just check the link in the comments and or description, and you should be able to find it, I hope. So that said, uh, what do you make of the song 40 years later?
Okay, I remember it. Definitely remember it. Once it started, I remembered it. It's a depressing song what it's about, but you wouldn't know it unless you listen to the lyrics, because it's about depression and suicide. Uh, Here's where I am with Billy. An Innocent Man wasn't his best selling album. I mean, it's his second best selling album in the U.S., but he was that'd be what made him really famous. The video age, MTV. He's married to Christy Brinkley, explodes him here in the
Yeah,
U.S. I didn't really like that album so much. Um, and this has a lot of sound sort of carried over for me from that. So I don't really care for the arrangement. It's not a bad song, but it's just kind of not my thing. After Glass Houses for me, it kind of starts to go downhill on my love for Billy. I still really like him; he's still a great songwriter. So you're much more the Billy Joel guy. What do you think of this song?
Yeah, it's one of those that has maybe not aged as well as other things in his catalog. You've got
As a lot
the
of things in
bouncy
the mid '80s
synthesizers
did
in
for
it.
a ton of artists, so we do got to say
Yeah,
that too. Yeah.
absolutely. That's it. I don't really match the song up with an Innocent Man, which is going into more of the
Hmm.
pre-Beatles kind of era. This is
It
much more
is. Yeah.
contemporary, and it sort of sits alongside the bridge from '86's next full album for me.
Yeah.
Um, Although it would be one of the lesser tracks on that album, and I do these days have both of these tracks added to the bridge, and I just listen to that rather than listening to a compilation. Um, but yeah, I've always liked this song, but it does have a good message to it.
Yeah,
And
it
he
does
actually
for sure.
got a letter from President Reagan thanking him for having such a positive message about suicide and everything. It's also notable to me that this is pretty much the last time, or certainly one of the last times, that you hear him having fun in the studio. Um,
That's a good point.
the the fluff over the line that he deliberately kept in, that's always stuck out for me. That it just feels like you're actually in the studio with him and he's mucking
Yeah.
it up. And as people who were there at the time, including Christie, no, you should definitely keep that in because it's what the song's about. So uh, it's a good one. And I remember hearing that on the radio, um, not in 1985 because I was, as we'll get to, he came into my world in 1986, which we'll mention a little bit later. Um, but yeah, it was certainly still being played throughout the 80s, alongside all just about everything else that was on this album. You
Yeah.
couldn't turn on a radio without hearing Billy Joel in New Zealand either, which is no bad thing as far as I'm concerned. Um, but that will take us to the second song, and the song that had the unenviable task of closing that set.
Yeah.
The Night is Still Young. So let's fire that one up and give that a fresh listen now. All righty. The night is indeed still young. Uh, what are we feeling on this one?
Yeah. I remembered it the second it came on. So I do remember this one. I think his vocal performance is really good on this, like very emotional. You feel it. I mean, it's probably somewhat autobiographical, obviously, with the subject matter of it. It's probably about 1 minute too long, though. If I had my, and it's not because I'm not a great fan of long songs. It just seemed a little drug out to me. But as you said, interesting to finish this album out that way. But maybe they just figured if people don't want to listen to the new ones, they're at the very end. But I mean, it's still a really good song. What do you think?
Yeah, maybe you prefer the single edit, which is, I think, about
Yeah, I knew it's shorter,
chops
but
about
yeah,
a minute 20 out of it, maybe. But love it. Uh, and I can see where you can feel that there's a bit of fat in there, but I personally like the dynamic range that it has because it comes right down and then it kicks back up into that anthemic chorus with the
yeah.
OOOs. And Billy doesn't do OOOs an awful
No,
lot,
he
so
doesn't.
it's quite unusual in his catalog. But yeah, it's a really a personal song, and I mean, looking back on it now, we know he's only got about a decade left in him of making pop music, and you can hear
Yeah,
in this lyric that he was already maybe on that path towards saying, "I'm walking away from this." I mean, obviously, he never did in full. He still played for all those years until very recently, but it all the signs were there that he was beginning to think maybe there's more to life than being a rock star.
yeah.
One thing I have to point out is that there's another channel called what are they called? Reactions to the Classics, who some years ago, one of their patrons, who was extremely good looking, um, brought a top 10 of Billy Joel songs that were either openers or closers of his albums. And I had to quickly look while that was playing because I knew it was on the list, but I couldn't quite remember where I'd put it. I had it at number two. Um,
Wow. Wow,
And
I did not remember you had that at number two. But
no, neither did I. I think that speaks to how I hold it in my affections. And I have to mention at this point that this album is the first album I ever bought with my own money, and I was only 6 years old when I did that. So it felt like I saved for about 3 years to be able to buy it. It probably wasn't quite that long, but
double album though.
yeah, by the time I had it in my hands, my goodness, was I going to play it? Oh, yes, I'd play it start to finish as many days as was humanly possible. Drove my brother completely mad, although pretty much the first thing he did when he moved out was buy a box set of Billy Joel's greatest hits. So it clearly worked its way into his skin one way or another. Uh, but yeah, I mean, it's a very special song for that reason. I always felt it ended the album on a high, even though it's a pretty somber tune. But just the chorus is enough because I mean, I wasn't listening to the words particularly closely at 6 years old, but
Sure.
it always his melodies just get into my soul, and that one
Yeah.
has, and I've grown to appreciate it even more over the years. So I think that's kind of spoiling things for how I'm going to vote. But it is time to reveal our winner, and of course I will hand it to Sean to deliver his verdict first up.
I mean, I'm right there with you. The Night is Still Young is definitely my winner. Although, subject matter is great on both songs because Billy's a great writer, right? So, I mean, nothing against the other song, but yeah, The Night is Still Young, definitely my winner as well.
Yeah. So, lest there be any doubt at all, my winner is "The Night Is Still Young," and yeah, I think it is a song that really holds up against a lot of those Billy standards that make up the rest of this album. And it didn't do much as a single; it only reached number 34, and you can hear
Yeah,
why it wasn't a big hit in its own right. But it doesn't make it any less of a great song, as far as I'm concerned. So
totally
yeah, I
agree.
mean, I just think it's moody and dramatic and catchy all at once, which is a neat trick. Um, I never heard that one on the radio. In fact, the only time I ever heard that outside the context of the album was queuing up to get in to see him in 1987. It was my first ever gig,
Ah,
and they were playing that over the loudspeaker, which I took as a sign that he was going to play it, and I was slightly disappointed that it turned out
it
not to be the
didn't.
case. But
That was your only chance to hear it at the gig. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, subsequently he's done it on one of his live albums, and it turns out it's not a very good live song. So it's probably some songs work better in certain contexts, and that one
True.
just sort of sits quite flat in an arena. So I can see why that didn't make it to the list of concert staples that he's had over the years. But fantastic song, and I love it. And now it's the turn of those out there to say which of these is their winner, because just because we agree doesn't mean that you have to. So drop down below which is your winner between these two songs and what you think of Billy in general, really. So yeah, uh, I had to say at this point that I'm aware that a lot more people are watching on TV, so it might be harder to drop comments. But if you're one of the few people still on a device where you can just type in easily, then do that. And I have got a fair amount of Billy content on the channel, so while I'm saying thanks again to Sean for joining me, you can click on that playlist, which will be floating around somewhere, and find more to watch. So for me, it's bye for now, but not for long.
Acting is reacting. This does not mean acting again.